Welcome everyone to History Gone Wilder, part of Have History Will Travel. I am your host, the Wilder Historian, and I was doing some research and came across an issue of the Confederate Veteran. One of the articles stood out to me as a great example of how former Confederates fought for how they would be remembered, and I wanted to show you the battles that Confederate and Union veterans faced when they attempted to cement their position in the country's most destructive war. Before I get into the meat of the matter, I want to explain what the Confederate Veteran magazine was. The original publication ran from 1893 to 1932. It featured stories about the Civil War from its veterans and published news about the creation of battlefields and other Civil War related topics. What I love about the old magazines are the eyewitness accounts from battles or campaigns. It was one of these eyewitness accounts that caught my eye and is the subject of this video. In the December 1898 edition of the Confederate Veteran magazine, a Confederate veteran by the name of N.B. Hogan from Missouri denounced an October article written by a Virginian about the Battle of Gaines' Mill. Hogan was originally an Alabamian and took issue with how highly the Virginians promoted themselves during the whole war, but more specifically about the article on Gaines' Mill. He wrote the article in the Veteran for October from the pen of Comrade Cooper of Fairfax, Virginia, in regard to the troops participating in the terrific battle at Gaines' Mill is so misleading that I cannot let it pass unnoticed. Virginia Confederates show a disposition to extol General George E. Pickett and his brigade and other brave Virginians above all troops of the Confederacy. I am an Alabamian, but if I were going to erect a higher monument to the troops of any one state than those of another for deeds of valor and desperate fighting, it should tower high above the graves of the gallant Tar Heels. The spotless record of men from the Old North State surely sustains me in the choice. I glory in the fame of the glorious sons of the grand Old Dominion, whose soul drank so much blood of heroes, but I would make no invidious comparisons. While Pickett was leading his immortal heroes at Gettysburg, where were the veterans of Anderson and Wilcox and those of other patriotic commanders of Lee's army? Thousands of living participants tell us that their flaming swords and glistening bayonets were in the forefront of the storm which furiously raged on the heights of Little Round Top and Cemetery Ridge. And yet, in reading some of our histories and accounts of the Battle of July 3, 1863, one is led to believe that Pickett and his men were the chief actors in that bloody drama. Fair-minded comrades will bear with me in this friendly criticism. It is true history that we want. Every veteran, when writing, should confine himself to actual facts as he saw them or obtained them from the most authentic sources. Within this first part of his article, Hogan outlines his frustrations and admirations with the Virginians. Just a little over 30 years after the war, Virginia took a more prominent role in the conflict in people's memories than any other southern state. One reason is because of the hero worship of Lee, Jackson, Stuart, and A.P. Hill. These men became focal points for remembrance of the war, and their status as Virginians only lifted Virginia higher in reverence to many Southerners. However, as Hogan illustrates, he and others were tired of Virginia getting all the glory. The reason we call the last major attack at Gettysburg Pickett's Charge is because of the Virginians' ability to promote themselves. Pickett's division was one of 3 divisions that made the attack on the Union center, yet it wasn't named Pettigrew's Charge or Trimble's Charge. It became Pickett's Charge because of the Virginians and their ability to promote the attack as theirs. Hogan saw the same thing happening with the Battle of Gaines' Mill, a Confederate victory during the 7 days. He particularly took offense at the insinuation that it was solely the work of the Virginians who captured the Union breastworks. He went on to say, Comrade Cooper says that Pryor's, Pickett's, and Kemper's brigades fought the battles of Gaines' Mill. The surviving veterans of the 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, and 14th Alabama regiments, commanded by that grand old hero, General Cadmus M. Wilcox, wonder when they read the Veteran why they were left out by Comrade Cooper. Here is the death roll of my own Company A, 11th Alabama, on that sanguinary field, and yet Comrade Cooper knows nothing of our presence there. C.W. Doss, L. Daniels, Jesse Daniels, Ben Elmore, Nathan Eskridge, A.A. Johnson. On that glorious field with my own eyes, I saw the life of our Lieutenant Colonel Stephen F. Hale, ex-member of U.S. Congress from Alabama, snuffed out. Colonel Hale lost a young son about the same moment, or just a little before he fell. Ex-Governor Sydenham Moore, our colonel, had been killed at Seven Pines a few days before, and Colonel Hale took our regiment into the battle at Gaines' Mill." Hogan went on to describe the battle from his perspective to illustrate that his command took a prominent role in the battle. In the same issue of the Confederate Veteran, another gentleman, this one from Texas, took exception to the fact that J. Cooper, the gentleman from Fairfax, Virginia, who wrote the neglectful article, stated that Hood's Texas Brigade played no role in the capture of the Union line at Gaines' Mill. George T. Todd was captain of Company A of the 1st Texas Infantry Regiment. Adjutant J. Cooper of Fairfax has an article in the October Veteran about Pickett's brigade at Gaines' Mill. I make reply to his concluding paragraph, which is as follows. "I have seen it stated that General Hood's troops carried these fortifications, but that is a mistake. Just as the left of Pickett's brigade had captured those 12 guns, Hood's troops entered the field, marching in column. The writer saw and asked an officer what command it was, and then told him it was Hood's. Should that officer be living and see this, he would corroborate. So would General Pryor." My attention was called to this article by Comrade M. Jacoby, now of Woodville, Mississippi, a member of the 1st Texas Regiment, Hood's brigade, who lost his leg on that bloody field, and who feels indignant over this heedless statement of Comrade Cooper. Far be it from me or any of Hood's old soldiers to pluck a single leaf from the glorious laurel wreath of Pickett and his old brigade. I saw them in their glorious charge at Gettysburg, crouching as the tiger for his leap, and witnessed them capture the crest of Cemetery Heights. Hood's brigade was there, waiting only the order to rush to their support. Had Meade and Hancock dared to follow Pickett as his thinned and bleeding line sullenly retired, Pickett's repulse would at once have been turned into Longstreet's victory. Neither Lee, Longstreet, nor Pickett were defeated, but for want of ammunition, especially for artillery. Lee would have continued his advance to Baltimore. Let us note briefly Comrade Cooper's statement. First, he was in the ranks, as was this writer, and amid the exciting scenes occurring after hours of furious and bloody effort, when the sun was sinking and darkness gathering, rifle and cannon crash, the Southern yell, the grand Federal cavalry charge in vain endeavor to cover their route, how could he or I recognize or note any troops marching in column? There were no troops within 2 miles of that glory-crowned crest, lines of battle only, and they in all positions, penetrating the abattis, leaping on captured works, and shooting at the cavalry. Flying horses, empty saddles, dying men, no marching columns or dress parade that glorious eve. Nay, verily, who was the officer that informed Brother Cooper? And how could he, or General Pryor either for that matter, recognize the particular columns marching on that field? I have seen it stated that General Hood's troops carried those works. Yes, brother, I expect you have, and that too by official reports of all who commanded on that field and by the cool record of the historian. After this scathing intro, Todd cites numerous sources that place Hood's brigade in the heat of battle. All this goes to show that even though these veterans came together for reunions with the other side, even men on their own side during the conflict disagreed with what happened during the war, or wanted to highlight their state more than another. If you want to read a good book about the arguments and disagreements between Union and Confederate veterans during reunions, check out the book Across the Bloody Chasm. Thank you all so much for watching, and have a great day.